Hi, and welcome to the Hoosier Moodler channel. I'm the Hoosier Moodler. What's a Moodler? Someone who uses Moodle, a learning management system that is an amazing workhorse. I have over 20 years of classroom experience as an English teacher, and I have found Moodle to be probably one of the best tools I have at my disposal. And I am a self-taught Moodler. I learned this by doing it, so there may be others that know more than me. In fact, I hope there are. But I haven't seen a lot of videos where I've seen people use Moodle the way I use Moodle, and I like my results, so I thought I would share. I'm here to guide students on how to access key features, help parents understand how the platform works, and support fellow educators navigating the Moodle-way. Nothing here is sponsored, I promise. In fact, Moodle is an open source learning management system. So if you want to host your own Moodle, it's absolutely free. For my purposes, I find that because I'm doing this on my own, it's not really useful to host my own Moodle. I'd have to get my own server, and then I have to make sure that all the firewalls and filters and stuff that the school have would be able to access that. It's kind of a pain. So I use Moodlecloud.com. That is something that I have to pay for. However, it's not sponsored. There are other ways of doing this. I just have found that Moodlecloud.com does a lot of the maintenance stuff for me. So it's an easier thing. The price isn't bad. If you are an IT person looking at this, then like for a school district, I really like the price. I really think the price is pretty darn good. But again, if you're an IT person, I would just host it on my own server. So, there are different ways of doing this, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm just going to show you my way. And the first thing is, I went to Moodlecloud.com, and that process is pretty darn easy, so I wasn't going to film that. And made my site. I chose a free 28-day trial period for this. Did not need a credit card, did not need anything, form of payment in any way, shape, or form. But in case you're wondering, yes, I absolutely do have my own Moodle. So like if I go here and log in, it would be a real class with real students. I don't want to show you real students, privacy issues and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to try to limit that as much as possible. So I went and got a free trial run, which is available for anyone who wants to go to Moodlecloud.com. You can test it, and then you can upgrade if you like it. I have found it to be incredibly useful. And again, not a paid video at all. Just explain kind of how I set up my classes and why I chose what I did. So when we're getting ready to set up class, this is my homepage. It's great. I go to Site Administration, and then I want to go to Courses. Well, there's actually two different ways of doing this. You can set up users first, or you can set up your course first. I have a couple users from, I'm ashamed to admit this, my third attempt at trying to video this. I'm rather new to some of the program features that I'm using to record. So I already have a couple users. I'm going to show the courses. I'll also show how to add a user. But I know for my own personal benefit, I generally like to make my course first. So go to Courses, add a new course. All right, so course full name, it can be whatever you want. If if your school wants it to be something in particular, you can do it. So a lot of times I'll just put my name. Let's put this, something like that. Whatever. Hoosier Moodler English class, whatever. And start date. I recommend making your start date a Sunday. There are ways of organizing your Moodle so that you might want it done by week, and it's nice if your week starts on a Sunday. It'll start on whatever day, pretty much like in Moodle. It'll start on whatever day is the first day you put it down as. It's kind of weird that way. And so I just recommend put your start date on a Sunday. The end date, for me, it's not going to matter one way or the other because I already have my own Moodle that I'm going to use. So I don't need to actually keep this one up and running. So I'm going to let it expire long before that end date ever happens. But if I were going to keep this Moodle and use it further, I would change my end date to whatever's going to make the most sense grade wise. So, like my school district, we have 4 quarters of 9 weeks, and then we have 2 semesters. And the semester grade is how you calculate credit, and so you have all this stuff. So sometimes it makes sense to say that the course ends at the end of the 9 weeks. Sometimes it makes sense to say it ends at the end of the semester. And normally speaking, in the past, I've kept my Moodle open for as long as possible to give students as much time as possible to increase their grades. And since I have to, because my school doesn't actually use Moodle, I have to transfer the grades from Moodle to this program we use for the official records. So I have to have a little bit of time to update grades. But for the most part, I just need to, I can give them up to the very last minute just about for me, and provide as much opportunity as I can. So it kind of just depends on how you want to run your class, what you want your end date to be. The description, for me, my Moodle classes are set up for public education. I have an English class. They don't need a description here, so I generally don't put one on. But if you're doing like a virtual class, like a master class series or something, where you're not necessarily meeting your classes, or you need something, I don't know, a course description because you're selling access to the course, that kind of thing, you could put it there. You could dress it up with an image, and I've done that before, but it's not necessary, so I'm not going to put it on this one. Course format. For me, there are different ways you can do this. Like I said, the weekly, so whatever. I normally like to have 6 sections, or 6 or 7 sections. It just kind of depends on how I want to add it up. But we can add more if we want to add more, and if we decide we have too many, we can take them away. So it's nothing permanent, but if you put a little bit of thought now, it's just less work later. Hidden sections, I like that they're completely invisible, and I like having all my sections on one page. The fewer screens you have to click through, the better, as far as I'm concerned. So you can set it for each section has its own page. But for me and the students I've had in the past, I have found that it is normally better to limit the number of things they have to click on. Appearance, you might think, because I teach an English class, that I should force the language. I don't, because sometimes I've had students that speak or read no English, and there are great things with like Google Translate, whatnot, to help. But let's face it, I don't need to make another burden. If you don't force the language, it'll allow students to change like the headings and stuff that come with Moodle to a different language. But the content you make is always going to be in the language that you wrote it in. So for me, I don't see the point in forcing it. I don't really use announcements, so I normally set that to 0. I always allow students access to the gradebook. I highly recommend it because if students have access to the gradebook, so do parents. The only reason why I would ever set that to no would be if I had a class that grades really weren't important or even really part of it. I could see that for an online just class. Like if I were teaching a writing course just on the side or something, and then it's not like you're going to get any kind of professional credit or anything for it. I don't really need to necessarily grade anything. I just need to have a place to put it or something. Like something like that. You might hide the grade book because it's just not needed, but that's not me. So I definitely want to say yes to students. Activity reports. This is a bit of a judgment call. I prefer to show activity reports. Activity reports allow students to see a little bit about who's in the class. So that's where you have to decide where your comfort level is, because it'll show like who's using the class at that moment and when the last time they used it was. That's kind of a surface level access. And then if this is turned on to show activity reports, students can then also get a little bit deeper into it and on their own, and students can see their activity reports for just themselves, which means a parent, if they wanted to, let's say a kid's not doing very well and they're getting low scores, and so the parent's concerned, wants to know what's going on, and I say, well, your kid's really not choosing to use his time very well because he never's doing the work. And the parent says, well, my child says that he is doing the work. And I was like, well, we can go through the activity reports, and this is when my class is, and let me know if they were on or how much they were on. So you can show a lack of activity to parents, and parents can check to make sure there is activity on the part of the students, so that that they're engaging with the material instead of just goofing off. And you can also look at okay, so this kid's failing every reading assignment. Well, why? Well, you start looking at the activity reports, and you notice, all right, you started it at this time, and then you were done. You read the 3 pages and answered the 20 questions in under 10 seconds. Perhaps we're rushing that a bit. That's why you're getting an F. It's that kind of thing that allows parents and educators to look over how a student is actually performing. So it's not just a case of the teacher saying your child's rushing, and then the kid says no, I'm not. Well, you can kind of tell. It's a pretty useful function, and I think parents should have access to that. The activity dates, again, shows what day they were active. I would keep it. Files and uploads, if you're using, I don't know what your limit's going to be, but I'm pretty certain I can do that on Moodlecloud. I have never once hit my limit. Completion tracking. Completion tracking I like to have on. All it really does is it provides a button or a box that students can click to say they're done with an assignment. It doesn't actually complete the assignment. It doesn't close it out or anything. It's pretty much just an organizational tool. The one downside I've seen with this is students will occasionally click on something and say they're done, and then for some reason they think that they're done and they've never even done it. So, they click something wrong, and then they don't understand that they haven't done the assignment, even though it has a check mark saying that it's completed. It's like, well, you put the check mark there. I don't know why, because you didn't complete it. It's pretty obvious. So occasionally that can happen. Or occasionally students can misrepresent to parents that they're done with all the work because, they've checked all the boxes, and they don't show them the grade book where it shows, empty scores. So parents, if you're watching this, look in the grade book. That's the thing that tells you if something's actually done. But some students, and in fact a lot of students, like being able to check everything off the list. So I like having it turned on. I think most students it helps. Groups, I don't normally mess with groups, so I just know groups and tags. I don't really need them. But if you're selling access to the course, you might. So save and display. And here is my amazingly naked and boring Moodle. But there are things like important things. Like the aesthetic details, I'm not going to worry about too much. I want to get the nitty gritty stuff done. So we need to add participants to this course. And when you do that, you just go to enroll users, and you should be able to see who's actually available, and you choose. And these are the students that I've already made up. So I'm going to choose them both, whatever. And I'm going to hit enroll users. And now they're all on there along with me. We can see that neither one of the students has ever logged in. So, this is a real basic view. And this is what students would be able to see about other students too when the people access the course. The email addresses wouldn't be seen because they're hidden from students, but I'm looking at it as the moderator or the admin, so I see them. If you notice, they're not real, and I'll point that out again in a few minutes. So technically I have the most basic aspects of a course set up, but there are a couple things that I would normally do. Like I said, I've gone through and I have participants but new section doesn't really help. So I should probably clean that up a bit. But let me show you how to add users so that you can do that. So if you didn't have any users already set up, you'd go to site administration, users, add a new user, and then you go through and you can set up your username however you really want. I recommend it be systematic. I'm not going to get into anything particular with how I do it for my classes per se. Like, I'll give you the generalities, but the actual specifics I'm not going to put on YouTube. I think it just invites too many security concerns. But parents, if you're watching this, if you are the parent of one of my students and you need access to this, and you don't necessarily for some reason want to ask your student, perhaps I have 2 children of my own, and they're old enough they can lie to me, and I know it. So I trust that they don't, but occasionally verify just to make sure, and you might want to be verifying your child's actually doing the work he or she says he or she is doing the work. So knowing how the username and password information is made might be useful. I just can't show it, a lot of it, on here. Normally what I do is, so let's say I'm teaching seniors. So seniors this year, would be graduate. Yeah, so that would be, yeah. So this is for them, year 25, and then their first and last name, and sure, Frank Fake Ellie. Yeah, that's a good name. And then we go through and I set up their passwords. And again, I'm not going to say exactly how I set up passwords because I don't want to invite people trying to hack the passwords for my information. But generally speaking, parents, if you need access to this, again, you can email me through school. But you can make the password however you want. And I had a child once who could not remember the password to save his life. And so I just had him type whatever password he wanted in. Like, I let him fill it out. You can always come back through and change the password. If a kid forgets it over Christmas break, you can go through and just change the password. So I wouldn't worry too much about it, but I got to put a password in on this, otherwise it won't let me through. Your passwords have to be at least 8 characters long, and it has to have at least oh gosh darn it. You have to have 1 capital letter at least, and I think you have to have 1 number, and it has to be at least 8 characters long. So anyway, stuff with the red, you gotta have the email address. Does not need to be a real email. Does not need to be a real email address. So I literally can do this. That's not what my school uses, so it doesn't really matter. Or I could just put, fake at fake.com, sure, and it'll work. So it's work. That's kind of how I like it. All the stuff about where people are, make sure the time zone and stuff is where the class is, and the picture, just know that students can put pictures in. You can delete them. So I had one class one year, they, like, most of the class decided to change the picture, and they chose one student in that class, and they all used his picture, which was kind of funny, and it was done in a good humored way. It wasn't bullying, I promise. It was just something kind of fun. So they have a little control over stuff like that. Just know that since they can put pictures up, you got to make sure that they're not putting up anything that they shouldn't be. Additional names, interests, and optional. It's all optional, so I don't really worry about it. Create the user, and so I created another one, Frank Fakely, or Fakeli, or whatever you want to call it. And so that's in my general list. But if we look, we go back to home and go to the class, and I look at the participants in my class, you'll notice Frank's not there because I've never enrolled him. So we'd have to go through, we need to enroll, and there he is. Enroll him. Voila. Now I have 3 students in me. Great. So normally when we have this, the sections are completely up to you, however you want to work on your class. I know for me, I normally put resources and mandatory assessments. And you got to hit enter. If you click outside the box, it's going to it won't save your changes. So, boom. So that's what I put there. Later on, I will probably go into um, what resources I use for parents and students, but that's not necessary for just an educator making a class, because you won't necessarily have the same resources, for example. And the mandatory assessments I have, those are the assessments that are at the beginning. You got to get 100%, and I'll have a separate video for them. But you go through, you press the pencil, and it gives you the box, and you can put whatever you want in there, but I normally put like today's assignments and the categories that I like to use. And it doesn't matter what order you put them in per se, but you might want to think about what you interact with the most, so that you have it closest to the top, so you don't have to scroll down as much. But you can rearrange the order of these at any time. So for example, let's say I do this and I want to move this, I can just drag it. Well, if I could drag well. I promise you can drag. You can also add stuff in between. Dear Lord. Okay, I promise you can. There. Yeah, see? Look at that. I did it. Yay. So, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, you can drag and move these around. You can add other sections in between. You can also, you can delete them. Another way of hitting move. You can duplicate, all those things. So that's kind of how you set that up. And you can also go through and edit the settings for the category. So sometimes this is something that I started doing, putting an explanation of what the category is. So this is where I put the assignments that are freshly made for today. There you go. And don't know why I clicked on vocabulary. But anyway, so that's all saved and wonderful, and that would always be on the page. And again, this normally you would want today's assignments up at the top, because it makes way more sense, because you're always going to be going to those things. So that's kind of how I have that set up. Assignments and grades and how to make those things, I think they're going to be a separate video, but this is your basics. The more menu has question banks, and that's how you get to making questions. If you don't have any questions, Moodle does not come with them. And I think I've seen people selling content. I've never purchased any. I just make my own, and I'll probably have a video or two on how to do that later. But pretty much it's a intuitive platform, I think. So I hope this helps. If not, I hope I haven't done any damage. Anyway, thank you if you've come and visited. Please support education with just a few clicks. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, ring the bell, all the tricks to stay updated. Your engagement is an amazingly powerful way to help provide classroom supplies and opportunities for students, all at no cost to you. You just click the buttons. Every like, comment makes a big difference over time. Thanks for supporting education, my students, all the good stuff. Have a blessed, fabulous, phantasmagorically great day.